One thing I really love about mobile video is that it's mobile, but you're not sacrificing quality today like you were just a few years ago. You can get amazing results shooting on your smartphone. And so in saying that, what I like to do is incorporate my iPhone footage in with higher end cameras. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you follow my channel, you know recently I directed and shot a new feature film. Now, we didn't shoot it on a phone, we shot it on a Red Komodo. But I used my phone in several instances, and that's what I want to talk about today because I really think that it's a great way, even on higher end productions, to utilize mobile technology. So essentially, I'm using it as a crash cam or an insert camera or really kind of a stunt camera. And so while the tech in the phone, I use an iPhone, is one of the main reasons that I can make this happen because of ProRes, the other component is using third-party apps, and the one I'm using right now is Filmic Pro. And so I'm shooting ProRes log on an iPhone and intercutting it with a Red Komodo. And there's really two main ways I'm doing this project, and they're both insert style shots that I think really work well with mobile tech. The first shot I had to do was an underwater shot. And again, I'm shooting on a Red Komodo, and I didn't have the ability to rig that up in an underwater housing. Now, I could have used a Sony camera or another smaller mirrorless camera, or I have a Blackmagic camera. But again, rigging that up in a housing not only is time consuming, but I'd have to buy one. I don't own one or rent one, but I do own an iPhone. Now, I'm not recommending you do this. And so if you go dunk your phone and it gets messed up, don't blame me. However, the iPhone is rated to be underwater, I think, for up to 30 minutes or so. And I've done this before. I did a short film a couple years ago, and I was really surprised at how well it worked. Not only the video camera, but also recording audio underwater. And so I did it on this job too. Again, I used Filmic Pro and I shot ProRes log, and I used the ultra wide. So when I went underwater, that way I would have a larger field of view and not miss the action. I did wear goggles, but it was kind of hard to see underwater. It's a super quick shot. But in the end, it turned out really well. After I did the shot, I actually used the phone right away. The only thing I will say is the audio, the speaker sounded a little bit warbly for another day or so. But after that, it was all good. I just had to dry out. And so again, I'm not recommending you do this, but it's a great option if you want to, and it's much higher quality than a GoPro or whatever, any kind of action cam that can go underwater easily. But now shooting ProRes log, I was able to match a higher end camera much easier using this technique. And now the second way I did it is a much more practical way, and that is shooting macro. If you've ever shot macro on traditional cameras, it can definitely look great, but you need a macro lens, and so that's an extra expense, and I don't own a macro lens. Now, yeah, you can get some extreme tight shots with telephoto, but it's not quite the same as doing true macro. But yeah, with an iPhone, you can do macro shots really easily. And in this project, I wanted a bunch of shots of a jam box, up close shots of the tuner, of the tape deck, etc. And so I decided using my phone was the best way to do that. And I did all these as pickup shots. We shot the main stuff on location during principal photography, and I did all these in my living room at my house recently. Again, using Filmic Pro, but I'm also using a shift cam lens. They have a long range macro that worked really well. And I rigged up a couple lights, just a couple tube lights to match the lighting that we had done in the original location. And when these are edited in the final movie, you can never tell they were shot later or on an iPhone. Now understand, I had the resources to use a traditional camera for these shots. Maybe not the pool shot, but for sure the macro. But I chose to go with mobile with an iPhone and Filmic Pro because not only was it easier in quotes, but it also looks great. And in the end, that's all that really matters. Does it edit in? Does it work in your story, in your movie? And in this case, it does. And on top of that, I could do it myself and save a little bit of money, and the results look great. Now you might be asking how I match these shots in with the Komodo. Well, I'll make a dedicated video about that, but just in general terms, I'm using Cinematch by Film Convert. And so basically I am converting the ProRes log from the iPhone, from Filmic Pro, to the Red Komodo log, and then color grading it just like I would Red Komodo. And that is a really cool thing about Cinematch. Now you can do this in DaVinci Resolve as well, but using Cinemats, you can do it in Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro. And it's just a really great way to match different cameras, or in this case, higher end cameras, shooting on a different device. And in this case, again, an iPhone. I wanted to note too that Filmic Pro now has a freemium version. They went subscription last year. A lot of people didn't like that. Understandable. I still think it's probably the best, if not one of the best apps on the market, especially if you're using it routinely. While I'd rather not pay a subscription, in the end, I think it's worth it for a lot of the tools they offer. But on top of that, now, again, they're doing freemium. And so you can now use Filmic Pro for free. And then if you decide you want to unlock the more pro functions, you can. And speaking of that, I do have a new course in development for Filmic Pro for those of you who are subscribed or considering getting the app. Look for that coming in, I don't know, those things take a long time to make, but I will hopefully have it out later this year or into early next year. But in the end, the very cool thing is using a mobile phone, in this case an iPhone, I was able to shoot some really great shots, underwater shots and macro shots, cut it in with a Red Komodo in a narrative feature film that will be released in the future, probably next year. It's called Casey's Favorite Song. If you want information on that, check the link in the description. And also, if you want information on any of the gear I used, including Filmic Pro, I'll have all that information in the description of this video as well. Well, thanks for watching. This is Blake Calhoun. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.